Hello friends, welcome back to my channel, or welcome if you are new. My name is Mal and I am the owner and maker of Made by MANIANDMAL. In today's video, we're doing another manicure inspired tumbler design. So I was scrolling Pinterest, as I do more than I'd like to admit, and I found this manicure and it immediately caught my eye. I'm really into kind of like the celestial law of attraction, that kind of thing. And these immediately reminded me of the evil eye. If you don't know, the evil eye is kind of a symbol or a talisman used in a lot of different religions to protect you from negative energy, protect you from bad vibes. So a lot of people wear jewelry with it, or they have some sort of symbol. It has roots in all different kinds of religions. So I wear a evil eye earring on one of my ears, and yeah, I just really like the protection aspect of it. So I wanted to create a tumbler that had an evil eye on it, so that's what we're going to be doing today. I hope that you enjoy it. If you do, make sure you give it a big thumbs up and make sure you are subscribed to my channel so you don't miss any new videos. I upload 3 times a week, every Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday. Everything I'm using is linked down below in the description box, as well as links to our social media, some discount codes, all of that fun stuff is down there for you. So I think that's it. I hope you enjoy the video. Let's go! We're using a 30-ounce skinny mug from Craft Haven, and I wanted to do a coral base on this cup, but I don't have coral paint, so I'm going to make my own. I'm using Pop of Color paints. You can use acrylic paint or whatever you have is totally fine. If you have coral paint, go for it. But I'm just going to make my own custom paint color really quick. I'm taking Orange Slice from Pop of Color, Red, and then Bright Yellow, Hot Pink, and then I'm going to add in some white to lighten it up. I mixed it all together and then just kind of added colors as I needed to get that kind of like fiery coral color almost. I ended up adding a lot more red than I had anticipated, but I did end up getting the perfect color. I love how it turned out. And I'm also going to mix my own custom glitter color. So I'm taking Easy Bake from Peachy Olive Glitters, Sweetie Pie also from Peachy Olive Glitters, and then Jerk Face also from Peachy Olive Glitters. And then the main character of this glitter mix really is Watermelon Sugar from PDB. I added quite a bit of that. And these are all kind of like a shifty coral color. There they are all mixed together. They were the perfect fiery coral for this design. So I'm taking my paint mixture and I just put a whole bunch of it on my cup, and I'm using a 1.5 inch thick paintbrush to brush it on. These brushes are my absolute favorite. They are linked in the description box below, along with everything else that I'm using in this tutorial. So I just put on a pretty hefty coat of this paint, made sure it was even, and then went right in with my glitter. I used the paint as the adhesive, so we save a whole step. I didn't mix enough of this glitter to cover the entire cup at one time, so I had to refill my cup a whole bunch of times, which was kind of annoying, but it worked out fine. I just had to work fast because I didn't want the paint to dry on me, so I did have to go around a couple times, but it worked out okay. So once I had my cup fully covered, there it was. I went around and I just checked to make sure that there weren't any patches that needed a little touch up. There were a couple spots, especially on the handle. I just went right back in with the paint and then went over it with the glitter, and you can't even tell. I just covered those right up. So if you have any spots where the paint dried too quickly or anything like that, just go right back in with your paint and you'll be totally fine. I did save this paint mixture. I know I always say that I use way too much paint, more than I need, but I have a little jar here, so I'm just going to put the rest of this paint mixture into it, and I can use it for the next time. I wanted to show you guys that just in case you ever mix too much paint like I do. So now, moving on, we are going to add our first coat of epoxy to this cup. So this is a big mug. I'm taking 40 milliliters of a little extra ink epoxy. And because these glitters that I used are all pretty fine, we don't have any super chunky cuts in our mix, This is going to give us pretty good coverage, so we only have to go in with 2 coats before we get to our sanding and other design work. So after this first coat, I waited about 8 hours, and then I went in with my second coat, and that one was about 20 to 25 milliliters. So once that second coat was all cured, my cup is fairly smooth. There's a couple little places that need to be sanded down, but for the most part, it is totally smooth and good to go. If you use a chunkier cut of glitter for this design, you might have to do your 2 coats, sand, and then do a third coat on top to get that perfectly smooth base. So once my second coat was all done, I'm ready to go in and do my sanding. First, I'm going to take my craft knife and clean off this top rim. I'm going to get rid of all that excess glitter and epoxy that's up over that rim. I'm not worried about the inside of the cup at this point. I just want to get the rim really clean so we can form our epoxy seal. I'm taking a 100 grit sanding block and sanding at a 45-degree angle at that top rim to sand down just enough so we see a tiny little sliver of stainless steel, just like that, so that our epoxy has stainless steel to adhere to and our design is sealed in. I also hit the handle of the cup really, really well, and then the bottom rim. And then I'm going to take the 180 grit block and just go over everywhere that I went over with the 100 grit, just to buff out those sanding marks a little bit. I don't want to see any of that under epoxy. So once I was done sanding, I washed my cup with dish soap and water, and now I'm ready to go into my Evil Eye design. This Evil Eye file is available in my Etsy shop, my digital Etsy shop. It's linked in the description box below, and of course, members of my Patreon group get it for free. So I'm going to start with the lashes for the top of the cup. So I want to do a lash on one side with like the eye closed, and then on the other side we're going to do the eye open. So this is the top portion here. I'm just centering the lash up at that top rim. For this 30-ounce cup, I made these lashes about 5 inches wide, and you can see they don't go all the way up to the rim. I wanted the curve or arc of the eye to look natural and not too like round. So I'm going to show you a little trick to get that to go all the way up to the top rim. So I placed it onto my cup, and now I'm just going to take an acrylic paint pen and finish off that line. When I was creating this, I didn't want to make the like slant of the eye or the shape of the eye too weird. So I just kind of cut it with the shape that I had created in Silhouette Studio, and that's how it worked out. If you have a wider cup or you place it up higher so that there's less space like on the lid of the eye, if that makes sense, like where the glitter is in between, it would probably work out. But for this cup, I just finished off those lines really easy with the acrylic paint pen, and you can't even tell that there is a disconnect between the vinyl and the paint. So then after I had that on, I was ready to move down to the bottom part where the eye is open. So I have my white eye shape here, and I decided that I wanted to glitter this. So I took a little bit of UV resin from Counterculture DIY, spread a very thin layer onto the vinyl with a gloved finger, and now I'm going in with Glitzy from PDB. This is a custom mix that they created with Brittany Barnes. So there's my glittered vinyl. I'm going to let it cure under my nail lamp for 2 minutes, and once it's all cured, I'm going to remove it from the backing very, very carefully. The glitter isn't sealed yet, so just be careful as you pick this up. You don't want to mess anything up. And then you can pick off any pieces. I had a few little thin UV pieces that were attached, and I am so sorry this is out of frame. I don't know how I was lined up, but there we go. I just placed this on the bottom rim of the cup directly opposite the lash on the other side, and now I'm trimming off this bottom edge here. We're going to take care of the bottom later, so don't worry about this line being perfectly straight or even. You won't be able to tell in the end. And I'm just cutting this off as gently and as carefully as possible, and there we go with our eye. So now I'm going to add a little bit more UV resin to the top so we can seal this glitter in and get a smooth base for our next layer. So I didn't use a ton of UV resin here, definitely more than I normally would to seal something, obviously because there's glitter. If you would prefer to go in with a full coat of epoxy at this stage, you absolutely can, but the UV resin is a really quick and easy way to get this done in a shorter amount of time. So now going in with my lash here, I'm going to just line this up with the top of the eyelid. Everything lines up perfectly in this file. They're all shaped and contoured to fit with each other. So I'm going to just place that. And again, the edges of the lash don't come all the way down to the bottom contour of the eye, like there's no bottom lash. So I'm going in with my black acrylic paint pen again, and I'm just going to draw in that lower part of the eye. I'm going to do that on both sides. Once our eye outline is all complete, I'm going to go in with the first layer of the eye, and this is Tech Wrap Craft Vinyl. This is Peacock Blue. I'm going to do one more coat of UV resin just to get the base a little bit smoother, and I'm just going to center this in the middle of our eye. Rub it down, make sure we don't have any bubbles or anything, and then I'm going to trim off that excess at the bottom as well. The next layer we've got is the white. If you wanted to, you could just slice out a circle from your blue part, that blue part we just put down, so that it would shine glitter through in this area, but I just chose to go in with a straight white just to give it a little bit more dimension. Add that to the middle, and then I'm going to trim off that excess at the bottom there. I wasn't super thrilled with the creasing that we had here at the bottom, but when we finish off the bottom, you really won't be able to tell, so I just tried not to let it bother me. I'm going to go in with one more thin coat of UV resin here just to smooth everything out, and then we'll go in with our final 2 layers of this eye. I'm curing everything for a full 2 minutes, by the way, in between each of these little steps. So the next layer is our light sky blue. This is just going directly in the center again. And then the last layer of our eye is our black little pupil here. So I'm just going to use some transfer tape for this one and place that right in the middle there. So now we've got our full evil eye going here. I think the glittered base looks really cool. It gives it a little bit of lift, makes it look a little bit more interesting. I really like that little additive there. So then I'm going to go in now with one more coat of UV resin on the entire eye, and this is purely to protect it from our taping that we're going to do for the bottom of the cup. I didn't want to risk pulling up any of the vinyl or getting tape residue on it or anything, so I just wanted to protect it with a thin coat of resin so we're good to go. So now I'm going to take my electrical tape and I'm running my fingers along it, as you can see, to get rid of some of that stickiness. Again, I don't want to pull up any of this vinyl or epoxy now. So I'm going to tape off right where our eye ends at the bottom of our cup, and we're going to paint this a really bright blue color to kind of pull out more of the blue in our eye. And I'm also going to glitter it, of course. So I'm taking Atlantis, which really matches that Tech Wrap Craft Vinyl perfectly. And the paint I'm using is Argo Blue. So once I had it spray painted, I went right in with my glitter. Atlantis is such a pretty glitter color, by the way. It's really A1, top notch. So I'm going to tap off the excess, get rid of my saran wrap, and then very carefully pull off my tape. And you can see that there's a tiny little gap there from where I painted and where the eye actually ends. So what I'm going to do is just touch that up really quick. I'm going to take some of that same spray paint and just spray a little bit of it into a medicine cup. Then take a small paintbrush and just kind of tap some paint into that area very carefully, just kind of dabbing it in there. And then we're just going to go right in with our glitter and touch that spot up, and you will never know that there was a gap there in the first place. I used a chip brush to clean up all of that excess glitter, and then I also took a baby wipe and just wiped up any of the glitter that was in a place I didn't want it to be. And then I hit this with a coat of matte clear spray from Rust-Oleum, let that dry about 45 minutes, and now I'm going to go in with a coat of epoxy. I'm taking about 30 milliliters of a little extra ink epoxy, and I'm going to spread it all over the body of the cup first, and then once I've got the entire body of the cup covered, I'm going to go in with more epoxy on the bottom where we put that glitter. I am going to add a little bit of this glitter to the body of the cup, but I don't want the glitter from the bottom to be migrating up where I don't want it, so I just save that step for last. So once I had my epoxy on my whole cup here, I took Atlantis, the same glitter we used on the bottom, and I'm going to very lightly sprinkle this all over my cup and then spread it out with my gloved hand here. As you can see, I wanted to bring a little bit more of the blue into this cup design and just give it a little bit more zest. The nail design that this entire cup is inspired by had some little dots on one nail, more little evil eyes. So instead of doing those, I just decided to add a few little glitter dots to give us kind of a little bit of that effect, but not add more eyes to this. I hit the cup with my torch and then let this cure a full 12 hours before the next coat. The last coat was about 20 milliliters. So that is it for this tutorial. I really hope that you enjoyed it. This is a little bit different from what I normally do, but I really like how it turned out. It kind of pushed me creatively, so I hope you liked it. If you did, make sure you give it a big thumbs up. Make sure you are subscribed to my channel so you don't miss any new videos. I'll be back on Thursday with another brand new tutorial. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one. Okay, love you. Bye.